I'll start the session by making a very brief introduction to our esteemed speakers today. We have Dr. Stephen, who's been teaching strategy to undergraduates, postgraduates, and executives at the University of Waikato since 1998. He consults extensively on strategy for business, for nonprofits, as well as researching leading success stories. Dr. Stephen utilizes the lessons learned to facilitate his teaching, and since 2017, he has taken the lead for the Waikato Management School on their internship program, which has seen substantial growth. We welcome you, Dr. Stephen. Then on the panel, we have Mr. Jason, who has 20 years of experience in the international education industry. He's held management positions both in New Zealand and Australia in the education sector. He holds a Master's of Arts, Applied Linguistic degree from Victoria University of Wellington. We welcome you, Mr. Jason.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we also have on the panel Mr. Suri with us, who will be answering questions, if any, from the participants. So while welcoming all the panelists, I will like to make a small introduction of the participants who are joining us from India. So we have faculty and we have students from the Faculty of Management Studies of Manav Rachna University. And I will request all the participants to please hold their questions for the end of the session. With this brief introduction, I now hand you over to our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Girish, for giving a wonderful introduction to the entire panelists today. Firstly, on behalf of the University of Waikato, I would like to thank Manav Rachna University and Kshitij from Estero to set up a session to speak with students from India. We all are at a stage of uncertainty, and I think this is also an opportunity to unlearn ourselves. So as I start to give you a very quick introduction about University of Waikato. University of Waikato is located in the central northern island with campuses in both Hamilton and Tauranga City in New Zealand. Waikato is part of the New Zealand Golden Triangle, an area that's bounded by Auckland, Hamilton, and Tauranga, and that makes up over half of the country's gross domestic product. And you all would be happy to know more than 50% of all the jobs in New Zealand are from this particular region. We are a public university established in 1964, have a diversity of international students across 50 different nationalities at the university at the moment. As we proceed, it's very important for all of us to know why we should look at New Zealand as an emerging destination for international students. There are 8 universities in New Zealand which are ranked amongst the top 3% universities in the world. New Zealand offers a stable working environment for international students in terms of post-study work visa. And you all would be knowing this fact that we are the second safest country in the world in terms of the Global Peace Index. And if you all love nature, then we have a stunning landscape and an easygoing lifestyle, which makes learning and living in New Zealand a fun country to be in. Why University of Waikato? There are some key reasons for it. Well, the key reason for us is the Waikato Management School is ranked amongst top 1% of the business schools worldwide with a Triple Crown accreditation. So as a management school, we have an accreditation with bodies like AMBA, AAC, SP, and EQUIS, which makes us in the top league. There are 11 subject areas in university which are highly ranked amongst the top 300 worldwide. Subjects like computer science, accounting and finance, business and management, economics, communication, media studies, and English literature are widely ranked amongst those top 300 subject areas. And as a university, we are ranked #1 in New Zealand for quality and impact of research, which does indicate the quality of work faculty puts in when they bring a lot of research projects for students to unlearn as part of their learning at the university. Hamilton, where the main campus for university is located, is the fourth largest city in New Zealand with a very vibrant student community, and we are very close to the city of Auckland. Something which makes us very unique in terms of our key element is the employability. So most of the qualifications at Waikato at undergraduate and postgraduate level have the internship component. Most of our graduates, as they are learning their course of study, 85% of them get employed within a year of their program completion. A more unique element, I think, for all the participants to know that the major employers visit Waikato throughout the year. And as a university, we work very closely on student development, which is known as Employability Plus program, My Career, which encourages students to and give them the opportunity to gain work-ready skills through different activities at campus. As I proceed, it's very important to give you a glimpse about how the campus looks like, and that's a very quick short video of the university campus located at the Hamilton City. Overall, these are the faculties and schools of study at the University of Waikato. So we do have a School of Arts, Social Science, even a Faculty of Law. School of Education is very popular with international students worldwide. Computing and Mathematical Science, and definitely the Waikato Management School gives us a key edge apart from the other universities based out of the country. For international students, we do run the scholarship campaign. So as students secures their offer letters at the master's or postgraduate level, they do have an opportunity to apply for International Excellence Scholarship Award. These scholarships are purely based on merit, and students have an opportunity to earn a scholarship of up to 10,000 New Zealand dollars as and when they secure the offer letter from the university. University do take care of student accommodation. So we do have accommodations which are 5 minutes walking distance from our faculty departments, and you could walk across for those classes and come back. And we do have both set of options for students to look at it. One is a catered hall, which takes care of all the meal options. So students who don't love to cook, they can still be happy to get their all meals served to them. Whereas we do have self-catered hall, which gives the students an opportunity to cook their own meals as per their own choice. And most of the international students do prefer to stay at a self-catered hall. Before I pass on to Dr. Stephen, I think it's very important for you to know what students say about us at the university. So I'll just run through with a very quick snapshot of student opinions about the University of Waikato.
Close to anywhere I won't go.
I love how everyone is so nice here, and I also like the smaller class sizes.
Really green and it's beautiful.
I love that there are different kinds of people here.
The community is pretty awesome. It's like a good feel.
That you can live on campus.
And the professors are amazing.
Going to the Marae trip for the international students.
I get to meet a lot of friends.
It always made me feel like I'm at the right place and not out of place.
Over summer, I got to work in a farm.
The first presentation that I gave here, I was nervous and I had no idea what I was going to talk about.
Cheap city to live in.
Ask for help if you need it.
A place where it encourages inclusiveness.
Yeah, just don't be afraid to do anything you want, you'll do it.
Just do every activity that you can.
This might be your best time of your life. Just enjoy and have fun.
Over to you, Dr. Stephen, to share the thoughts about why they should look at management qualifications in New Zealand.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I was having an issue before, so I will just get off the other one that I'm on. Awesome. I'll bring up what I've got. Hi there, I'm Steve. As mentioned before, my background, as mentioned, was that I've been at the Waikato Management School for a little more than 20 years. Came here from the States. Had grown up in New Zealand, but went off to the States to do my PhD, University of Illinois, and came back to teach strategy, interacting with executives, undergraduates, and that sort of stuff. Kind of what I'm going to focus on in this little segment is talking about particularly the part of my role which is around employer engagement. As noted, I've been doing this for the last few years, but it's really my underlying passion that underneath what I do, everything that I do is about connecting our great students with great companies for great outcomes. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But I want to talk about how we get that to work, and there's a number of aspects to it. So just to pop through the stuff that's me. It's not really me running through a field, but it's a picture from Banksy. So what do I actually do? The role of employer engagement is fundamentally about sort of a continuation of things I've done in the past, which is why I was asked to do the role of connecting industry to students to university, with the clear goal of a win-win-win situation where industry is getting the right sort of people into their organizations, where students are getting the positions they want, and where university is facilitating that and our students are getting those great positions moving forward. That's fundamental to everything that I think about. So I spend a lot of my time talking to our students. I spend a lot of my time talking to industry and trying to connect up those two elements, particularly as the strongest aspect of what I do. There's really, I would say, 4 things that underlie that approach to good graduate outcomes. That we want to have projects that are based in the real world, that present opportunities for students to do applied learning, so that the technical knowledge that we're teaching, that the skills that we're developing are applied to real world situations, and that we show that we have evidence that we allow students to have in order to show when they get out into the marketplace, that we acquire the soft and hard skills. So quantitative skills are still really important. We're in the age of big data, so massively important. But you'll see a strong emphasis from employers around the soft skills as well. So we put a big emphasis on that, around how we develop that. I think Waikato does a really, really strong job in that. I get to see the other universities in New Zealand on a regular basis. I get to see quite a few of the international universities as well, because we compete with them, and I see what their best students are doing, and I'm very comfortable with the skill set that our students have got. But we're constantly innovating, constantly evaluating, constantly connecting with industry to make sure that we're doing the right things that suit where the market's actually headed to. A third aspect of this is really what I refer to as tell me about a time. I think the job interview is massively important for students, and I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do that set that up. My strongest advice to students is start thinking about that job interview before you start at university. So you should be developing the stories from the get-go at university around being able to tell. So one of the most common questions you'll get in a job interview, not just in New Zealand, but in a lot of places, is tell me about a time. And it'll be tell me about a time where you had to show leadership, or tell me about a time where you had to show teamwork. And what we most want to do is to be able to provide you with stories that allow you to tell a great story about showing leadership or showing teamwork, but in a context that is really relevant to that organization. So we can all sit there and talk about our high school cricket team or whatever, and the leadership we had to show. And that's good. But an example that's even better is one that's in industry, that's connected to the type of job that you're applying for. And so setting up those opportunities is key to what we're trying to do. And then, of course, the obvious is networking, that it really, really matters that you have connections. And we try to put you in front of people. So I'm constantly bringing guest speakers. We have events we get in, judges from the business world, the internships, a number of things we do are about getting students in front of people from industry, not handing it on a plate to students, but providing them with the opportunities that if they're willing to follow up, then there's an opportunity to create strong networks with industry, so that those opportunities exist moving forward. And I'll talk through a couple of these things. You'll see how that applies in terms of what we do, I hope. And if you don't, feel free to ask. So how do I do it? Kind of my role has three elements to it. The third element is one we're adding at the moment. So events, case competitions, research challenges, numerous things that we're involved with, which are about linking industry to the students. Internships, which are pretty well known in terms of a logic behind that, and I'll talk about that, and labs as well that we're developing. So in terms of the events, what you see there is 4 of the judges at the international case competition that we host each year in Tauranga. The guy who is second from the right is one of New Zealand's richest men. That's Nick Mowbray. He grew up on a farm not far from where I am now, right here in the Waikato, and developed a toy business with his brother, which his sister joined them. The 3 of them moved to China. They are now the 6th biggest toy business in the world. They own, I think, 10% of Tesla. They have significantly invested into FMCG, and that business is growing. They've also got a housing business that they're developing as well. And he's a massive, massive supporter of ours, and somebody that we have strong ties to. They were at a point where they were starting to think about, could we get some more talent out of New Zealand? I approached them before they even got to that. So we got, because we tend to think about those things, about how we can build connections with companies, we were first into that relationship. That relationship has benefited us enormously in terms of graduate positions, in terms of internships, in terms of all sorts of stuff, sponsorship. The man on the left is one of our students. So that's a graduate of ours who is working for Nick within the Zuru business. He's in fact in the UK now, dealing with Northern Europe in terms of their diaper brand, so FMCG stuff that they're developing with that. He's actually a conjoint law and commerce student, really good guy, smart kid, who's taken the opportunity that we've got. But Nick would come down and judge on those competitions, which was awesome. Also supply the company. That's his house up in Auckland, the mansion, and that's the students that were involved with that. So hosting us, you can see Nick down the front in the white t-shirt and beside him. Hosting events like that has been really, really a positive thing in terms of building that connection. So we put him in touch with other universities as well, but we have a very, very strong connection in terms of our students, and he's very clearly indicated at a number of public events that Waikato's students have been just outstanding. The ability to work with the university, but also the quality of the students going through there. And we put a great deal of emphasis on making sure our students can make a positive contribution once they get out into the workforce, so that we can reinforce that. Talking about internships specifically, which was the second area of that, it's not that revolutionary to point out that internships really do make a difference in terms of graduate outcomes. For instance, 6 out of 10, this is global data, but something like 62% of students who do an internship, at least one internship during their degree, will end up getting a position with one of those organisations they did an internship with. I think our rates might be even better than that. Certainly, also when you talk to major employers, something like 80% of their positions have been, of their graduate positions are being offered to people who've interned with them. So companies are definitely using it as their trial means to find out whether people are the right kind of people, students are the right kind of people that they want to take on as graduates. So that's pretty massive. That's one of the reasons why the entire University of Waikato now has every single degree within the University of Waikato has a work integrated learning component to it. And so that's a clear indication that Waikato really, really cares about the graduate outcomes and has put a strong emphasis on it. I don't think any other university in New Zealand, in fact, I know no other university in New Zealand has that approach. So we've really pushed it. That creates challenges for us, but great, bring it on. When you talk to students and employers, you find that they all tend to be the same thing, that they found great people, that the students who did those internships got a lot of confidence out of doing it, knowing they contribute to a workplace and really make a difference. So in general, that's been an incredibly successful program over a significant period of time. The key question, I think, for a student to think through is really thinking about skills that will help, focusing on what that journey needs to be for you from a career perspective, focusing on where you need to get to by the end of the university degree, and then thinking about what skills you want to develop. That's important in terms of thinking about any of these types of activities. What skills do I want to demonstrate that will help me in terms of graduate outcomes, stories that I can tell, people who could help. I always am sitting there talking to students going, well, when we think about what we want to do here, who do you want to get in front of? Who do you want to impress? What skills do you want to show them? Very, very structured approach to what we are thinking about, how we can attain better graduate outcomes. So thinking through what's actually missing as we go through that. I think we're going to grab questions at the end. I think there's been a couple of hands raised, but we'll take questions after I've finished through this a little bit. Types of internships, we do two broad types of internships. We do project-based internships, which are, some specific project that's needed to be done. Could be a transportation company by main freight, could be a airline like Air New Zealand, or even a festival. We also see a lot of corporate internships where it's broader training than that, rotational through different areas. EY, BNZ, Zuru themselves, which is Nick Mowbray's company, have all provided those types of opportunities. And some of them also provide the project, so it's not like there's a particular company only does one type of those, but we look across all of those types of things. Give you quick examples of the types. Fonterra, we put in significant numbers of students into Fonterra, massive dairy company within New Zealand. They'll work across a couple of areas over summer if they do their formal internship program. By the way, I would say less than a third of our students do their formal internship program. A lot of our students are working on projects that they've been assigned by Fonterra that are outside of their standard program that leads into their graduate program. So Fonterra hires for their graduate program as well as hires for specific positions, and they take a similar approach to their internship where they hire for where they take on interns to their formal internship program, and they also take on interns just generally for specific things that they need done. And then of course we have the classic project internship. Good George is a beer company here in Hamilton. Been really good supporters of the management school over the years. I've written a case on them. They've been awesome. I've written a case on Fonterra as well, but just really, really good people who provide really good projects for our students to come up with really entrepreneurial sort of stuff. So you've got that one end of it quite corporate and the other end of it being far more entrepreneurial, and we have a real mix of both types of things that our students get involved with. The third and final thing I wanted to talk about just briefly was a new approach we're taking, which is labs. So we are launching labs that will involve cross-disciplinary teams. So one of the things that going on with internships is in the current COVID environment, that's become a slightly more challenging prospect just in the short term. And so thinking through what we could do about that, what things we wanted to show better of. So when we get that tell me about a time question, or when students are getting that tell me about a time question when they're going in a job interview, we want them to be able to talk about team experiences. And we find that's what employers are looking for, and particularly cross-disciplinary experiences. So we're setting up to provide that, which would involve labs where we've got cross-disciplinary teams working on projects from companies, explicit industry mentoring across those projects, so that they're developing ideas, bouncing those ideas off people in industry, and then continuing on with those ideas as a team to develop solutions to those problems, implementation of design thinking, and a number of things going on in those projects that are leading edge in terms of what we're doing. Allows for them to interact with greater number of people, because we've got multiple of those industry mentors, as well as the host company that's the sponsor company of that. So a greater networking capacity, fairly structured approach in terms of the front end of that. So internships tend to be sort of jump out and go into the organization and start doing what they ask you, and this has got more built-in structure to the front end of that. What do you need to do in project management type of skills, that sort of thing that's involved, which is also a response to what we're hearing from employers. There's also a more resilient approach in terms of the where the market is. So if we've got challenges with internships like we have right now because of COVID, which is not a Waikato thing, that's worldwide, that there are issues around that, that we've got there's always projects to be done, and if we can get them done in a way that enhances the outcomes that graduate employers are looking for, then so much the better for our students. So that's been something we've been pushing. Nude is a brand of pet food that's probably coming to a supermarket near you soon. We've had students involved in the development of ideas around that new product. It's coming out of a company, Zero Edge, that's doing the FMCG stuff. So they started off with diapers, they've moved into pet food, and they've got numerous other product lines. And so there's some really great opportunities that our students have got during internships, but also straight out of then being hired on into those positions and taken over those brands, running them, which has been awesome to see. So that were the three areas that I look at. That's my passion, really, in terms of that. And from what I understand, we're going to open up to questions on anything at this point.